Was Muawiya ibn Abi Sufyan always destined to emerge as a legitimate political rival? Or did his legitimacy grow out of mistakes made by his opponent? Because when we look closely at the conflict between Muawiya and Ali ibn Abi Talib, we start to see something deeper. Muawiya didn't begin with uncontested authority, he built it. And part of that process was enabled unintentionally by key strategic decisions Ali made under pressure. Just to clarify, this is not about blaming Ali or diminishing his position. Ali was operating in one of the most unstable moments in early Islamic history. But strategy matters. And the central idea here is this: Ali's decisions, shaped by urgency, principle, and political constraint, created openings that Muawiyah used to transform from a provincial governor into a credible alternative center of power. We can break this down into four critical moments. Each one didn't just weaken Ali's position, it strengthened Muawiyah's claim to legitimacy. Everything begins with the assassination of Uthman ibn Affan. This is not just a political crisis, it is a legitimacy crisis. Ali becomes caliph in a moment where authority is already fractured. Now, here is the strategic problem. Ali needed two things at once: immediate consolidation of power and a credible response to Usman's killing. But these two goals pulled in opposite direction. Moving too quickly against Usman's killers risked alienating factions that supported Ali. Moving too slowly created a perception of inaction. Ali chose caution. And that decision, while understandable, gave Muawiyah his first major opening because Muawiyah reframed the situation. He positioned himself as the one demanding justice for Uthman, not as a rebel, but as a defender of accountability. And once that framing takes hold, Ali is no longer just governing, he is defending his legitimacy. But that was the only beginning, because the next decision reshaped the entire political landscape. Early in his rule, Ali replaces several provincial governors, including those aligned with Usman's administration. On principle, this makes sense. He wants a clean break. He wants trusted leadership. But strategically, it comes at a cost. Because in doing so, he disrupts existing networks of authority. Now compare that to Muawiyah's position in Syria. Muawiyah is not removed, he remains in place, he retains continuity, and that continuity becomes a source of strength. So while Ali is rebuilding administrative control in multiple regions, Muawiyah is reinforcing his base in one. This creates asymmetry. Ali governs a shifting system, Muawiyah governs a stable one, and stability is a powerful source of legitimacy. Then comes another critical moment: the internal conflict that leads to the Battle of the Camel. Now, from Ali's perspective, the confrontation is unavoidable. He has to assert authority, he has to prevent fragmentation. But strategically, this creates a sequencing problem. Instead of confronting Muawiyah early, Ali is pulled into internal war. And that delay matters because time in politics is not neutral. Time allows Muawiyah to consolidate Syria, strengthen loyalty, and refine his narrative. By the time Ali turns fully towards Syria, Muawiyah is no longer just a governor resisting authority, he is a leader commanding a cohesive political and military base. And that brings us to the most critical moment of all, Siffin. At the Battle of Siffin, Ali is in a strong position. Militarily, he has the advantage. A decisive victory is within reach. But then comes the arbitration proposal. Muawiya's side calls the conflict to be resolved through negotiation, invoking religious symbolism. Now, this is a strategic trap because it shifts the battlefield from military strength to political perception. Ali accepts arbitration, and this is where the deeper mistake emerges. Not necessarily the decision itself, but the consequences it unleashes. Because arbitration divides Ali's own supporters. Some accept it, others reject it outrightly. This leads to fragmentation within his camp, including the emergence of the Kharijites. So instead of weakening Muawiyah decisively, Ali's position weakens internally, and Muawiyah gains something far more valuable than a battlefield win. He gains parity. He is no longer just opposing the caliph, he is negotiating with him. And that act alone alleviates his political status. When we step back, a pattern becomes clear. Ali's challenges were not just external, they were structural. He was trying to govern a fragmented, rapidly changing system while maintaining moral and political legitimacy. Muawiyah, on the other hand, had a simpler objective: hold Syria, build loyalty, and exploit opportunities. And most importantly, avoid decisive defeat. Ali needed to resolve multiple crises at once. Muawiyah only needed to outlast him. So, what strategic mistakes allowed Muawiyah to gain legitimacy? Not a single decision, but a sequence of pressures and choices: delayed consolidation, disruption of administrative continuity, diversion into internal conflict, and the acceptance of arbitration under fragile conditions. Each one made sense in context, but together they created space. Space for Muawiyah to transform from a regional governor into a political equal. And that reveals something deeper about power. Legitimacy is not always seized in one decisive moment. Sometimes it is built gradually in the gaps left by someone else's constraints.